Nature always impresses with its incredible beauty, but sometimes it can be unpredictable and even dangerous. In this video, we've gathered the most astonishing natural phenomena that have been captured on camera. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on new videos. Are you ready? Then let's dive in. In May, residents of Iowa witnessed a massive tornado that caused significant damage. The vortex swept through fields and towns, destroying everything in its path. At times, the tornado was barely visible from a distance, but other times it took the shape of a distinct white column connecting the sky to the ground. Tornadoes take the form of a funnel and are often accompanied by lightning. Wind speeds can exceed 480 kilometers per hour. This destructive force can uproot large trees and level houses to the ground. Unfortunately, the tornado didn't spare the town and caused a lot of damage. Most of the houses were unfortunately destroyed. Nothing was left of them, only debris scattered for miles around. In the homes that weren't completely destroyed, the roofs were mostly torn off, and all the windows were blown out. Only the walls remained. The trees were stripped of their leaves, which were torn off, and the branches broken by the wind. The town looked like it had been hit by an airstrike. Every resident suffered significant losses. Some will be able to rebuild their homes, but in most cases, the damage was so severe that even if something survived, restoring the home would be impossible. When the tornado ended, people who returned to the town were shocked by its appearance. Sandstorms are an impressive natural phenomenon in their own right, but just look at how they appear over the water. A massive cloud covered the coastline. Sailors came out onto the deck to watch and film the astonishing sight on their phones. This sand cloud rises several kilometers high. From a distance, it resembles a cliff and might appear motionless. However, if you look closely, you can see it moving. The cloud can cover seas and oceans for tens of kilometers from the shore. Just look at how small this cargo ship appears as it passes by the sand cloud. When ships are enveloped by such a storm, it feels like a dense fog. From afar, this phenomenon looks beautiful and mesmerizing. However, being in the epicenter of such a sandstorm is far from pleasant. As the cloud approaches, the crew left the deck and sealed all the windows tightly. It's not advisable to go outside even for a few seconds without a protective respirator and goggles. In the epicenter, it becomes almost dark and visibility drops to just a few meters. A diver using an underwater camera managed to capture an extraordinarily beautiful sight in the sea. Hundreds of rays swimming in a majestic school. They move slowly and harmoniously together. It's mesmerizing and calming to watch. Their fluid movements are so synchronized that it might remind you of computer graphics, but this is happening for real. Take a close look. The rays are swimming in a spiral, forming incredible shapes. They gather in such large schools during migration when they are searching for more favorable living conditions, where there's a moderate climate and enough food. Additionally, they move in large groups for their own safety. It's easier to avoid predator attacks when in a school. Notice how the rays don't even react to the divers who are filming them from a close distance and swimming nearby. They don't see them as a threat, allowing us to enjoy their natural behavior. Usually, such schools swim at a depth of 10 to 20 meters underwater, creating the impression of complete darkness below them. I would love to find myself among these amazing creatures to feel the magic of their movement. Have you ever seen rays or gone diving? Share your experiences down in the comments. In North Dakota, an incredible spectacle occurred, something you don't see every day. A man named Michael Mars witnessed a massive tornado. Instead of being scared, he pulled out his phone and started recording this gigantic force of nature. The tornado, like a living giant, carved its path through the fields, lifting hundreds of kilograms of soil and dust up into the sky. Just look at how awe-inspiring and menacing it appears. Although it seems like the tornado was far away, even from hundreds of meters away, you can get pulled by the powerful winds. This phenomenon is extremely dangerous as the tornado can change its direction at any moment. The center of the tornado has a diameter of several dozen meters, shrinking and expanding, resembling a storm. From above, you can see a small white cone, which is an air vortex reaching the ground. At first, there's a sense of awe at the mighty force of nature, but it's soon replaced by fear for your life, as the tornado can easily cause damage not only to property, but also take lives. This is the moment when you realize just how powerless we are in the face of nature. At one point, Michael and his friend realized that the tornado might start moving in their direction, so they decided to flee immediately. A tornado can move hundreds of meters in a matter of seconds, so it's crucial to find the safest place as quickly as possible. It's terrifying to even imagine what those witnessing this natural phenomenon were feeling at that moment. In deserts, tumbleweeds are a common sight that surprises no one, but have you ever seen a sea of them? They literally cover the road and the field. It's incredible how many there are. You just can't count them all. Tumbleweeds create real thickets on the road, turning an ordinary drive into an extreme adventure. Luckily, the wind blows them off the asphalt, or the driver wouldn't be able to see where to go. The tumbleweeds didn't damage the car, but drivers try to avoid them because they can reduce visibility and distract attention. Such occurrences are rare, but when they do happen, it's a real challenge for everyone on the road. Sometimes special services even have to be called in to clear the roads and the areas covered with dry grass to ensure that it doesn't obstruct traffic or pose a threat to cities. It's not just a matter of comfort, but also safety, as tumbleweeds can block roads and create hazardous conditions for drivers. And here's a small tornado made of tumbleweeds. There are several hundreds of them in there, forming a real vortex. The air whirl lifted them up and carried them towards the car. The only harm they can cause is scratching the car's paint, but such a vortex can scare even an experienced driver. Finally, we see a giant tumbleweed that decided to stroll through the city streets. It's a true show of nature, as a giant ball of tumbleweeds rolls through the streets, causing surprise and awe among pedestrians and drivers alike. This is a true migration of inflatable mattresses, and it's simply fascinating. Due to strong winds, inflatable mattresses were blown off the platform where people were relaxing, and now they are relentlessly flying and bouncing around the surroundings. The wind turned them into real entertainment, and passerbys couldn't help but laugh while watching this. I mean, you don't see dozens of mattresses flying through the air every day, sliding across sidewalks and bouncing over obstacles. They even knocked over a small fence. One mattress nearly knocked a man off his feet and caused him to drop his phone. So, it's not such a safe and fun situation after all. Not all mattresses proved to be peaceful. They created a lot of chaos and funny moments, but now the owners will have to spend quite a bit of time finding them and bringing them back to the platform. And this is yet another proof that even ordinary objects can become part of an unforgettable adventure when nature decides to play a prank. This diver encountered a true swarm of jellyfish. He found himself in the very center of this fascinating event. Don't worry about him, his life and health are not at risk. He's protected from stings by a special suit, and besides, these jellyfish are still young, and their stings aren't very dangerous. We agree, it looks impressive to witness such a unique phenomenon. At greater depths, you can see swarms of jellyfish that resemble a watery tornado. They swim together, forming impressive spirals and currents. Millions of these delicate creatures gather into massive groups, creating a spectacle that's rarely seen. Glacier calving is a spectacular phenomenon that can be observed in the cold waters of polar regions. Glaciers can accumulate over hundreds of years, gradually increasing their mass. When they reach a critical mass or under the influence of warming, glaciers begin to break apart. A giant block of ice shatters into hundreds of pieces, crashing into the water with a deafening roar. This event resembles a landslide or avalanche, sweeping away everything in its path. However, when observing glacier calving, it's important not to get too close. The fall of large chunks of ice can create some dangerous situations. The debris scatters in different directions. Moreover, the fall of large pieces of ice into the water can cause a small tsunami, which can capsize boats and cause damage. Some glacier fragments can reach several dozen meters in diameter and weigh hundreds of tons. Their fall creates massive waves and a rumble that can be heard from a great distance. It's truly a grand spectacle. These people witnessed a large-scale glacier collapse. At first, the debris fell into the water, creating a cascade of splashes and waves. But that wasn't the end. A gigantic underwater piece of the ice mountain broke off and began to rise to the surface. This enormous block rose tens of meters above the water before finally breaking apart and falling. This is how icebergs are formed. When a large piece of ice breaks off from a glacier, it begins its journey out into open waters. Floods are a common occurrence during the rainy season in the mountains. Large streams of water often flow down into towns and villages located at the foothills. During a sandstorm, several people climbed onto their roof, witnessing how a powerful flow of water and mud was destroying everything in its path. This torrent engulfed cars, demolished houses, uprooted trees, and easily toppled power poles. Large buildings managed to withstand it, but they suffered significant damage. Notice how the flow easily destroyed the garages of the houses in the foreground. Fortunately, the main building withstood the flood wave, but many homes became uninhabitable after this. Recovery from such devastation requires a lot of time and effort. Hail is a common phenomenon that can be seen in different parts of the world. However, sometimes the size of the hailstones can be astonishing. Residents of Coahuila, Mexico witnessed hail the size of tennis balls. Hail began to pelt the area, with chunks of ice bouncing off the ground like real balls. But their destructive power is impressive. They easily broke branches off trees and palms. But the worst damage was done to cars that weren't parked in garages or safe places in time. The hail shattered car windows and dented the metal, leaving large dents. Some drivers managed to take cover under shelters near gas stations and shopping centers, saving their vehicles. Here's what car owners saw when the hailstorm ended. The cars left out in the open were missing windshields and rear windows. Side mirrors were broken and there were huge dents on the roofs and hoods. Notice how some people tried covering their windshields with blankets. Of course, this didn't help soften the blows from hailstones of this size. Some cars look like they've been through a bombardment. Have you ever witnessed a major hailstorm? Share your experiences down in the comments below. A heavy downpour has engulfed the city. Drivers on the roads have poor visibility, barely able to see the cars ahead due to the intense rain. The situation is worsened by strong winds. They knock over road barriers in their path, while the water turns roads into rivers. In some lower-lying areas of the city, water from the surrounding areas has flooded the courtyards of apartment buildings, turning them into lakes where parked cars are submerged. Some vehicles are almost entirely underwater, with only a portion of the roof visible. Owners will have to spend a lot on repairs and dry cleaning, but the rain and flood weren't the only problems. The wind felled dozens of trees. They damaged many cars parked nearby, blocked roads and exits, and some trees fell on playgrounds, destroying the equipment. It's fortunate that in such bad weather, children are staying indoors and not playing outside. If you ever go on a cruise, keep an eye out for dolphins swimming alongside the ship. This little one decided to playfully swim in front of the bow. These creatures often do this, accompanying various boats and liners. They usually do it for fun. Dolphins are intelligent beings, so they often entertain themselves by playing in the waves created by the ship. It might seem dangerous for the animal, but in reality, it's not at risk. Sometimes dolphins do this to conserve energy while swimming long distances. Riding the waves created by the ship makes swimming easier and faster, so they can accompany the vessel for several miles. These people came out onto the deck of a ship to see an entire pod of dolphins that surrounded the vessel. Over 2,000 of these charming marine creatures had gathered. Those surfacing are just a tiny part of the massive pod swimming underwater. Dolphins surface to take in oxygen, as they need air to live. Moreover, dolphins are very playful and curious creatures. When they see ships, they often accompany them, surfacing to take a look. Their jumps and smooth movements create the impression of a dance on the water surface. When hundreds of dolphins simultaneously begin to surface, it can seem as if the area around them is starting to boil. This is truly an impressive phenomenon, captivating with its scale and beauty. Such scenes are rarely seen, and they leave unforgettable impressions on anyone lucky enough to witness this natural show. This isn't just playfulness or curiosity, it's the migration of dolphins in search of places with ideal living conditions and abundant food supplies. Such pods can change their location several times a year, covering thousands of kilometers in search of optimal conditions. They follow fish and other marine creatures, which are their main food, and can travel long distances to find enough food. These moments remind us of the beauty and mystery of nature, of the harmony and connection between all its elements. Watching dolphins play around a ship is a real gift for tourists on a cruise. The power of a tornado should never be underestimated. Residents of a Chinese city experienced this firsthand when they found themselves in the eye of the storm. Notice how one of the walls of this building begins to bend under the force of the wind. In an instant, it gives way and shatters into pieces. Debris from the buildings, cladding, roofs, and various other materials are lifted into the air. This is extremely dangerous. Stepping outside could be fatal if struck by such debris. However, curiosity sometimes gets the better of people, and they open doors to film the terrifying phenomenon. At the very least, we can see what happens during a natural disaster. Look at how small an entire neighborhood of high-rise buildings appears against the backdrop of the tornado. I truly wouldn't want to be there. If you thought that all islands always stay in one place, that's not entirely true. It turns out there are floating islands that aren't anchored to the bottom of the water and can move from place to place. Recently, one of these islands was swept by the current towards the shore of a water body and a bridge. The island literally blocks part of the waterway and can create serious difficulties for water transport. To resolve this situation and return the island to its usual place, a real operation to move it was organized. Motorboats were used to push the island back away from the shore, using their power to slowly but surely move it. The process wasn't easy, as the floating island is quite massive and moving it required coordinated teamwork and precise control. Despite all the difficulties, the island was successfully guided back to the center of the water body, where it could once again take its place. This fascinating process demonstrates how dynamic nature can affect our environment. Such floating islands typically consist of layers of plants, peat, and other floating materials. These islands can be quite large and even have trees on them. When you step on such an island, you feel solid ground beneath your feet, even though it's on water. This is a unique natural phenomenon that is quite rare and always impresses with its amazing ability to move on its own. Sakura trees are incredibly beautiful plants that are covered in delicate pink blossoms during their blossoming season. You can spend hours admiring these trees and strolling through gardens, enjoying their beauty. But the real wonder happens when the sakura blossoms start to fall. The wind blows and it feels like you're in a fairy tale pink snowstorm. Petals fall to the ground, covering roads, sidewalks, and cars with a pink layer. Everything around changes color, and this scene becomes truly magical. At such moments, there are always many people near the sakura trees. They come to take photos. So, if you haven't seen this amazing phenomenon with your own eyes, be sure to plan a visit to a sakura garden during its blooming and shedding period. This is a sight worth your attention, and will remain in your memory forever. Lava flowing into water is an extremely rare occurrence. One such moment, though, was captured on video. The molten lava hits the water and instantly vaporizes it. A thick white cloud of steam rises up into the air. Since the temperature of the lava is around 1,000 degrees Celsius, it boils the water upon impact. Hot water forms around it, and lumps of lava can instantly harden, forming various shapes. However, sometimes the lava doesn't have time to solidify, or it happens partially due to the high temperature difference. As a result, the water becomes murky and takes on a brownish hue. This is clearly visible from above. The coastline seems to be smoking from the steam, and the water around it has changed color. When water bodies freeze over in winter, sometimes interesting phenomena can be observed beneath a thick layer of ice. Air capsules. But it's not just ordinary air, it's methane. Methane forms as a result of the decomposition of organic matter in the water. This process releases gas, which accumulates and creates bubbles that can be seen through the transparent ice. Above the methane accumulation sites, ice crystals can grow. The temperature in these spots can rise due to moisture evaporation, which then freezes, forming crystals. This adds a special charm and makes the ice even more attractive to those who enjoy exploring winter nature. For fishermen and fans of walking on frozen water bodies, such discoveries become real entertainment. If you break the ice in such a spot and bring a flame to the hole, the methane will ignite, creating a small torch. It's an impressive sight that can last a few minutes if the hole is the right size and enough gas is accumulated under the ice. However, this type of entertainment can be dangerous. Methane is an extremely explosive gas. A sudden release or improper handling can lead to some serious hazards. For example, these women found a large bubble and decided to ignite it. When the methane burst to the surface, the gas ignited and created a fiery column that rose several meters high. The phenomenon was so sudden that they barely managed to avoid burns and scorching their hair. A rainbow is a very simple yet beautiful natural phenomenon. But have you ever seen a circular rainbow? It's usually impossible to observe them from the ground. We only see part of its arc. To see a circular rainbow, you would need to go to a high altitude during rainy and sunny weather. For this, a drone was launched into the air to capture it. Notice that it's not just circular, but also a double rainbow. Such sights are very rare. From the ground, you can only observe the part of it that rises above the mountains. When was the last time you saw a rainbow up in the sky? Write about it down in the comments. Fires can occur underground. Tourists discovered such a place in the forest. In a small ravine, they saw fire, even though there were no signs of a fire on the surface. If you throw something in it, it immediately catches fire. The temperature inside can reach hundreds of degrees, as if in an oven. The tourists even decided to roast marshmallows, although it was clearly a bad idea. Such fires occur during the burning of peat. Huge deposits burn out without even producing smoke, as everything burns out completely, releasing only heat. These underground fires usually last a long time. Some can burn for weeks as long as there's enough peat. A severe hailstorm hit the Guangzhou region in southern China. The ice was enormous. It damaged many cars left out in the open. Notice the large size of the hailstones. They nearly punched through the roof of a house and destroyed people's belongings left inside. Fragments scattered in all directions. In this video, a local resident captured the force with which the ice chunks fell into the pond. It looks like someone is throwing stones in the water. The hailstorm caused significant damage. In the Philippines, the largest flood in decades occurred, caused by a powerful typhoon. Entire settlements were submerged, at least 20 people died, and several dozen more are reported missing. Water flooded the streets, rising up to a meter in some places, forcing locals to be evacuated by boat. The situation was worsened by continuous rainfall. Dozens of rescuers and volunteers in life jackets assisted the victims and transported them to safe areas. Some people were rescuing their pets who couldn't take care of themselves during the disaster. Unfortunately, many animals perished as their owners couldn't transport them to safety. This dog here is trying to climb to higher ground, escaping the water. It's truly a sad and painful sight. Tears come to your eyes seeing what this animal has to endure without help. The flood caused the river to overflow, and a large barge collided with and got stuck under a bridge. The bridge held up, but the situation remains dangerous. Cars turned into boats. Some drivers tried to reach safer areas but lost traction with the ground. Their vehicles were lifted and began to float downstream. Buses, in the meantime, were still able to evacuate passengers, navigating through the raging waters. The current swept away small buildings and anything that wasn't anchored to the ground. Among the debris and trash were even people who couldn't stay on their feet. These men here were unharmed. They were caught by others in time and stopped. Residents had to watch the flood from their rooftops and upper floors, hoping that the structures would hold. They had to live like this for several days until they were rescued. This driver managed to capture a double rainbow during a rainstorm. Notice how it seems as if the rainbow touches the road ahead, or if the road gradually turns into a rainbow. It might seem like just a little further and the driver would catch up to it. But if you understand physics well, you know this is impossible. As soon as the sun hides behind the clouds, the bright rainbow instantly disappears. Just a few seconds, and it's gone as if it was never there. Only the rain remains. Finding yourself among a school of fish is a true stroke of luck for a diver. It's even luckier if you can capture this breathtaking sight on video. Tens of thousands of fish swim together, forming various shapes. It resembles an underwater fireworks display. The fish try to avoid the divers and escape to safety, but it's truly mesmerizing, especially when it happens not too deep and sunlight penetrates the water well. The fish shimmer like tiny mirrors on a disco ball. A living tunnel can form around you. Notice how synchronously the school of fish swims. This is the largest elephant in the world. It lives in Tanzania and weighs about 8 tons. Its size is astonishing. Huge trees look like bushes next to it. This is who can truly be called the king of the jungle and savannah. No predator would dare come close to such a giant. Just imagine how much food is needed daily for such an animal. Well, our selection is coming to an end. Write down in the comments which video impressed you the most. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. It motivates us to create more interesting videos for you. So, we'll see you in the new selections.